guys, and welcome back to another video. Now today is a what's for dinner video, and I have 4 different recipes that I will be doing. Now the first one is our honey mustard chicken wraps. Oh, you guys, also what I'm going to do is put a timestamp down at the bottom in the description box, so go check that out, and that way if you see something you like and you want to come back to it, you can just timestamp the video and see and just go straight to it. Alright, let's get straight into this. I am making my honey mustard dressing, and what I used to do that, as you saw in the beginning, were the ingredients. I have just regular yellow mustard, grain coarse mustard, garlic powder, apple cider vinegar is what I normally use, but I only had rice cooking wine. I had honey, mustard powder, and olive oil. I do everything to taste. So I add the ingredients based on the taste that I'm looking for, and that's how I make my honey mustard. So I don't have any tablespoons or a teaspoon or anything like that. Now I have already washed and prepared my chicken. I don't show it in my videos a lot because I don't like touching anything when I'm dealing with chicken like that. So I season my chicken by adding olive oil, seasoned salt, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and that's it. That's all I added. I actually cut my chicken breast in half to give me more because they were too thick. They were a little bit on the thicker side. So I cut them in half, and I was cutting off any excess skin to them. And after I do all of that, I actually take a little bit of my honey mustard dressing and I pour it into the chicken, onto the chicken, and I actually let that marinate for a little while. Now it would be best to allow it to marinate for 24 hours, but even a quick marinade is really good because I'm basting it at every point. Now when I got done with that, I washed my hands and I got another bowl, and I used that to pour another portion of my honey mustard dressing in, and that is so that I can baste my chicken while it's cooking. Now after I finish doing all that, I've already heated up my pan that I'm going to cook in, and I lay the chicken in and I let each side cook for about 5 to 10, right? So I always like to make sure my chicken is like extra done, right? So I let it cook for about 5 to 10 minutes on each side, and then what I do on the side that is done, that's when I baste with the extra marinade that I have left over. I do not baste on raw chicken. I'm sorry, I won't do it. Each side has to cook. Now while this is cooking, I'm getting my bacon ready, and I'm just doing my turkey bacon, and I've shown my turkey bacon that I used before that I get from H-E-B. I'll put a card up here because it should be on my grocery haul that I just did, so I'll put a card up here and link that. I cook my bacon until it's crispy. Okay, you guys, I do cook it till it's crispy. Now after all that is done, I'm ready to pretty much assemble my wrap. And all I use is I cut up my chicken, I cut it into strips. I chop up my bacon. Like I said, I like it crispy for this recipe. So I chop up my bacon, and after I get through chopping up my bacon, I like to use a spinach wrap. That's one of my favorite wraps, and my daughter loves it too. Now, some people, you can heat this up if that's what you would like to do, but I don't necessarily heat mine up. So all I'm adding today is just lettuce, the chicken, and the bacon, and then I add honey mustard dressing on top of it. Now what I normally do when I'm not out of it, I add my cucumbers, avocado, you can add even onions, whatever you like to dress it up. I don't eat raw tomatoes, so I don't add raw tomatoes to any of my food unless I'm cooking it, okay? And then I just go ahead and fold it in and then start wrapping it up, and that's what we have for dinner. And let me see, I cut it in half just to, make it easier to eat, but there you go. Okay, you guys, the next thing on the item is fried chicken drumettes. Now, what I normally do is I do about 2 cups of flour, and I season my flour with seasoned salt, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, turmeric, cayenne seasoning, black pepper, a little bit of mustard powder, and a little bit of smoked paprika. I season my flour to taste. I like my flour to be breaded and seasoned very well because I actually do my chicken in a milk bath, so my chicken is not seasoned, okay? So that's why I do that. So you'll see that my chicken is soaking in this milk bath along with the egg wash. And all I do is just do a step process where I use one hand to take my chicken from one wet ingredients to the other wet ingredients and put it in the flour, and then the other free hand I use for the flour mixture so that my hands don't cake up too bad. In the process of me doing this, I'm actually heating my oil on the stove and getting it ready. And one of the ways I test to see if my oil is ready is I just, dash it with a pinch of flour. And if it starts sizzling, I know we're good to go. All right. And I just dropped my chicken drumettes in there and I let them cook. And while I was letting them cook, I was kind of preparing everything else. Where you did not see me preparing was the rice. I've done it a million times before on the channel. I always cook my rice in a rice cooker, so that's what I use to cook my rice.
Keep losing sleep while driving in the backseat. What's left of me?
Okay, you guys, after my chicken has gotten ready, I think I only have like a couple more pieces left to do. I already had my water sitting up here boiling, and I start to put my broccoli in there. Now the broccoli you saw earlier, I get that from Sam's Club, and it comes pre-packaged in individual packages, and I just steam it over some boiling water, and I just add some seasoned salt, a little bit of seasoned salt, garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and Thai seasoning, and that's it. And I add butter. I always use pure butter. I don't use margarine or anything like that. So after I let that steam for a little while, it didn't take long. I don't like to steam it to where it's overcooked. I like a crisp to my broccoli. I start getting my chicken ready. I let it keep warm in the oven on little racks instead of keeping it on a towel so it would stay crispy. So I get my chicken together and I get that ready. My rice is done and I fluff it up from the rice cooker and everything like that. And then this is what we had for dinner on this night.
Sometimes everything just gets hard. Sometimes everything just gets harder. Feeling like I'm missing some parts. Days just keep on getting much darker. Even when I'm down in the low, I remember what you were saying.
Okay, you guys, the next dinner that we have that I'm preparing is sauteed steaks. And I did sauteed steaks with sweet potatoes, purple sweet potatoes, and steamed veggies. Now, the first thing that I like to do is get all of my vegetables chopped up. So I chopped up my green bell peppers, I chopped up my onions. I also had my purple sweet potatoes that my son peeled for me, and I had those in a water bath, and I had those and I chopped those up into cubes. Not bite-sized cubes, but good little chunks so that when I put them in the pressure cooker, they didn't overcook and start mashing. So I chopped up my sweet potatoes, and then the next thing that I finished chopping up after my sweet potatoes was that I also peeled some carrots, and I got those chopped and ready to go. Each time I'm chopping, I kind of like to wipe my boards down, especially from the sweet potatoes. So I wipe my board down and I have my carrots and I'm chopping those into good bite-sized chunks. And I also have my green, I did some fresh green beans that I froze myself. I buy them fresh and then I freeze them myself. And then I also did some broccoli, and it's just some of the frozen broccoli that I bought from Sam's Club. And I did those. The broccolis were very big. So what I did was I took the broccoli and I would cut it down, if it was pieces that were just big chunks. So I cut it down into little more eatable pieces and bite-sized pieces. Now, after I have all my veggies chopped, I get me a pizza pan and I just put foil over it. And I just seasoned my steamed veggies, the veggies that I'm going to steam. I just seasoned it with a little Thai seasoned salt, garlic powder, and Italian seasoning. And that's it. And then I sprinkled it with some olive oil. I had already sprayed my pan down with olive oil. And then I just sprinkled some olive oil on the top to keep it separated and from sticking. And I preheated my oven to about 350 so it could do not a fast roast, but just got them in there so they would still be nice and crunchy.
This is all we've been dreaming of. Don't ever have to leave, don't ever have to stay. This is all we've been dreaming of. All we've been dreaming of. All we've been dreaming of.
Alright, you guys, after I've done cleaning up my area, I go ahead and get my pressure cooker out and I get it ready to do my sweet potatoes. Now on this one I used the purple sweet potatoes and they taste so good. All I added was some sea salt, black pepper, and about 4 tablespoons of butter. And then I added about a half a cup of water, stirred everything in and let it mix real well. And then I set it for about 15 minutes to let it cook. And that was it. And I still feel like that might have been too long. So next time I do it, I believe I'll set it for 10 minutes. Now, the reason I'm going ahead and knocking out my veggies is because the steaks that I have, they do not take long to cook at all. They're thinner steaks. They're not thick steaks. They're very much on the thin side. So after I gotten that together, I heat up my pan, add my olive oil, and to this I add about a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of butter in there, and I start to saute my onions and my bell peppers. Now I like to saute those down into the translucent in color, where the onions are translucent in color, and then I remove those from the skillet, and then I add in a little bit more butter and I put in my steaks one piece at a time. The only thing that I use to season my steaks are salt and black pepper, and that's it. Now, as you can see, the steaks are very thin. I let all the blood drain off of them. I have left them in the refrigerator overnight, so they are not bright red like people believe steaks are supposed to look. I already seasoned one side with the salt and pepper, and I'm seasoning the other side with the salt and pepper. I let them brown for about 2 minutes on each side because they don't need to stay in there long. I remove those from the skillets and then I add the rest of my steak in there. And after I add the rest of my steaks, the only thing I'm doing now, I will replace my onions and bell peppers in the skillet, and then I will replace my steaks back in the skillet, and then I'll let everything saute together on low heat. Now, as you can see, this only took about 15 or so minutes. My veggies are done and I've taken them out. My steaks have sauteed down after I put the lid on them and let them saute more, and my sweet potatoes are done. And that's it. And that's what we have for dinner on this night. Now here's the last and final recipe, you guys. Flatbread pizza. Now, I actually made my own homemade flatbread. Now, the ingredients for this was 2 cups of flour, 3.5 tablespoons of melted butter, and I used the salted butter so I didn't have to add additional salt, and 3/4 cups of milk. You mix it in real good together, and then you pour the dough out. Make sure you have your work surface with flour on it, and then you just knead the dough until it's a little bit more pliable and has a little bit more elasticity. I didn't say that right because I can't say the word. Don't judge me. So after I did this, I let the dough rest. I wrapped it in plastic, saran wrap, and then I let it rest for about 20 minutes. You can let it rest longer, but I did about 20 minutes, and I just cut the dough into 4 quarters. Now, I couldn't find my normal pie cutter that I use to cut my dough, so I just used my scraper. So when I cut it into 4 quarters, I go ahead and take each side and I roll it down as thin as I can get it. You know, I don't want it too thick, but I don't want it too thin. So I say about 1 inch. Yeah, to about 1 inch. Now I went ahead and rolled out all 4 pieces, because what you're going to do next, I have my skillet heating up actually on the stove right now. You add a little bit of olive oil into your skillet, and then you're going to place the dough in, and you're going to cook it for about 5 minutes on each side. You're going to see it brown and bubble and everything like that, and it was so good and so simple and easy to make.
I found love, for real love. Let this be the real thing. Tell me now, what's on your mind? Whisper soft to me that you want me.
Now, these flatbreads were really good, but I think what I'll do next time is add some seasoning in there. Since I have the base recipe, I can go ahead and play with it, because what I did in order to make my pizza is I made me some garlic butter. So I take about 2 tablespoons of butter, I add in some seasoned salt, some minced garlic, and I just melt it in a microwave. And then what I did was I used that to base my my flatbread, and I use to season up my flatbread. So I'll do that next time ahead of time instead of doing it like this time. So after I based my flatbread with the garlic butter on both sides, yes, I did it on both sides. On both sides, I actually added a little bit of pizza sauce. Now I got this pizza sauce from H-E-B, and it's the organic. I didn't add a lot, I added a little bit, because what I want to do is go ahead and put my flatbread in the oven and let it toast for a little bit and dry out so it'll be crispy when I take it out to cook. Now, while I was doing that for my pizza, I sliced up some purple onions, some tomatoes, and some bell peppers. And then I also had some spinach that was already pre-packaged, but I washed it anyway because I'm a little paranoid. So I used my spinach and everything, and that's what I'm going to be adding to my pizza.
Just a flame. It's more than just a flame. I can't help it. It is more than just a flame.
Now, you don't want to leave your flatbread in there for long, just long enough so where the top layer of the tomato sauce that you added dries out a little bit. Now I add additional tomato sauce on the top. I add in my my mozzarella cheese. I also add my tomatoes, my spinach, and everything like that. Now next time I'll spread everything out a little bit more evenly, but I was just really hungry this night and I did not make this look pretty. It could have looked a lot better, but I wasn't caring. Now you will see me use raw tomatoes on this, but it's only because they're going to cook and it enhances the flavor of the tomato sauce. I did add turkey pepperoni onto my pizza. Now I added the turkey pepperoni, and after I got everything done, I added some more mozzarella cheese on there. Now for the kids pizza, I do it the same way I do mine. I added the garlic butter, I added the creamy Alfredo sauce is what they like, and I added that, and then I let it go into the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes to crisp it up. After that, I took it out the oven, and the only thing they had on their pizza was mozzarella cheese, the Alfredo sauce, the mozzarella cheese, and turkey pepperoni, and that's it. And that's how I made theirs. Now each pizza stayed in the oven for about 15 minutes because I like a crispy crust, and then as soon as I took it out the oven, I placed it on the countertop. I don't let it stay on the pan because it will add extra moisture to it, and that's all I did, and this is what we had for dinner on this night. Alright you guys, and that wraps up our What's for Dinner. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. And if you're not following me, go to my Instagram page and follow me at Mirrarose Creations. This is where you can see a lot of the dinners that I make. Thank you again and have a great day. Bye.